So a very good morning and welcome to the Heist on Swansea High Street. My name is Mal Pope and it's my joy to welcome a live audience here and an audience around the world for this very special presentation this morning. Today is the 50th anniversary of the passing of one of Swansea's finest poets. His name was Watkins, and I'm delighted to say this morning we have a world premiere of a brand new old play written by his widow Gwen Watkins, and I'm delighted to say Gwen's our guest this morning, so a very big round of applause for Gwen. Gwen, welcome to the Heist. I'm really excited to see the play being performed. You wrote it quite a long time ago, didn't you?
Oh, ages ago, I think. What year are we in now?
It's 2017.
Oh, well, in about 40s.
Oh, really?
Well, no, after the war, soon after the war, when I got to know Vernon and things like that, I thought, well, honestly, because Vernon used to talk immensely about the pre-war days, the Cardona days that meant so much to him.
Now then, where did you meet Vernon? They tell me it was at Bletchley Park.
Yes, I met him at Bletchley Park. That's where all the people that they had to do some war service, but you know, they were quite strange, so they couldn't really fit them into ordinary. Vernon was an RAF policeman for 18 months.
That was something that made Dylan Thomas laugh quite heartily, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think he was used to Vernon doing strange things. But being a policeman, I think, is probably one of the strangest things he did. And they rapidly moved him to Bletchley. But he had many very strange stories to tell. How he and two other policemen went to London on a bender and got drunk and came back and the camp was shut. And they all had to climb over the wall. And Vernon, who of course had climbed Gower cliffs and caves and everything, sprinted over the wall. But he had to drag the other two over almost physically. There you are.
He was quite a quiet man. You were quite surprised that he asked you out. It took a little while for him to pluck up the courage.
But I was surprised because he, as far as we knew, he had no girlfriend. He had no interest in romance or anything like that. So I was pretty amazed. You know, but he knew what he wanted. Very quickly he proposed to me.
Now then, those Cardona days, they were very special to him. It was a very special time here in Swansea, a cultural time.
Oh, it was the time of his life that, because he met Dylan, who was a great friend of his life. I think he was much more attached to Dylan than Dylan was to him or to anybody. But it was to know another poet in Swansea who was seriously writing poetry and seriously interested in poetry, and also had a tremendous sense of humour, because a lot of things that are written about Vernon, they're very serious. They never say that he really was a very funny man.
The play reflects that. There's a couple of things I'd just like to point out. Now, the play is written in two different times. The first part of the play is set in 1967, 50 years ago.
I think so, yes. No good talking about dates to me. I don't even know this date.
So it's set in the new Cardona, and there's an American student. Now, the play is actually written from your memories. All of these things happened, not at the same time, but these are all real things. The American student that we'll be seeing this morning, she was a real character?
So she was indeed, yes. She pursued Vernon like a vampire. And she was last seen after he died with an old hat of his, clutching it to her bosom and weeping bitterly. She really loved him. This is nice for an American. You don't think that the British poetry means that much to them. But it did to her. He did make people were very much attached to him because he was so unaffected and plain and witty. People don't say often how very funny Vernon was, but he had people, you know, screaming with laughter. That's, I think, why Dylan originally became so fond of him. Just because he made Dylan's kind of jokes and their conversation. I wish some of it could have been recorded.
Now, well, and that's sort of what you've done with this play. You've recorded special moments. Some of the other characters, so that people get an idea of who they were. Obviously, people will recognise Dylan Thomas. The waitress, she's there in 1937, she's there in 1967. The same waitress.
That's right. when she was a young waitress, Dylan particularly used to tease her a lot, you know, flirt with her. Vernon didn't flirt, he didn't know how to, but Dylan did flirt, and she became very fond of them. And then when he came back, after he was married, he came back to Swansea. There she was, still serving in Lovelace.
So that's that. Now there's another character, Tom. Alfred James people would probably recognise from being the painter, a fantastic painter in his own right. Tell me a little bit about Tom, so we understand who Tom is, played by Kev Jones this morning.
Tom Warner was an orphan. He'd been brought up by two aunts who lived in that block of flats on the way to the uplands. Oh. What are they called? I can't remember now. But they lived there and Tom lived with them. And he had, because he was a musician, he got to know Dan Jones when Dan came back. And he was introduced to Fred and Vernon and, you know, this group. And it was very nice for them to have a musician. No, he wasn't interested in poetry or art or anything, you see. He just waited to get in bits about music were told sometimes.
There's another character in the play that I think we need to explain. His name is Francis. It'll become obvious why we're explaining who Francis was. He was a Frenchman.
He was Vernon's, one of his closest friends. He'd come over before the war to, as an assistant. He was only 19, to the grammar school. And it was Dylan's father, when he found out that Francis was interested in poetry, he said, well, we've got a poet here, you should meet him. Because his own son, of course, was in London at that time. But he introduced Francis and Vernon, and they became close friends. And they used to like to make multilingual puns in their letters. If we had a collection of their letters, they were immensely clever at that. Vernon used to read me, he kept some of them, and he used to read me these. And really, if they could have been published, they could have been published in Punch.
So we will see, well, we won't actually see Francis, but we'll hear about Francis in the play, and let me just say that he's French, so that'll make sense of that part of the play. Fans of Vernon's work all around the world, but in particular Dr. Rowan Williams, the former Archbishop of Canterbury. Now, sadly he can't be with us today, but he sent us a little message, and Peter Richards, who's going to be performing today, would you mind just reading out the message from Rowan Williams?
I'm glad to know that Vernon's untimely death is being marked in this way, dear Gwen, and that your play is going to be read and posted for a wide audience. You know how much Vernon means to me as a poet. I have just been writing an introduction to a new translation with Gwyneth Lewis of Taliesin, and have taken Vernon's Taliesin poems as the high point of 20th century appropriations of the Taliesin figure, and I'm thinking of writing something a bit longer on this later on. His stature grows all the time in my mind. I do hope I'll have the chance to read your text. I wish all good things for the anniversary commemoration, and send my very warmest greetings from Vernon's College, which is, despite his interrupted career here, justly proud of the association. Very affectionately yours, Rowan.
Lovely, well done. And Rowan he's the master of Magdalen College, and Vernon went there for a little while.
Say again?
Vernon went to Magdalen College, Cambridge, just for a little while. He did.
For a year, and then he left.
Well, thank you very much to Peter. We'll see a little bit from Peter now. So let me just explain what's going to happen. This is a script in hand reading. It's a radio play originally, Gwen. You wrote it for radio.
Yes, really.
Yes. So
you know, there's no movement in it.
Well, we put a little bit of movement in, but not too much. So there will be a script in hand. There will be some props, there will be some costume, but really this is a radio play, but for Facebook Live today. Gwen, it's lovely to have you with us. I'm going to leave you now, and do you know what? There'll be music playing anytime soon.
No, but I wasn't told what I was coming to see.
Really? I hope it's not too much of a bad surprise.
It might be about, you know. I might have been able to have my hair cut in.
Well, I hope you enjoy this broadly. Well,
yes,
well, this is your play. It's Cardoma Voices by Gwen Watkins. Please, another round of applause.